Is that good? Lead us into show and tell.
Yep.
Now, Miles, why did you put these on the screen?
I say. Well, we know the one on the left, the Kirkland. It's had a lot of news recently, right?
Yep. I mean, biggest thing. So we did in our show and tell last week. We talked about the Kirkland iron release and how it's sold out and how they're flipping for on eBay right now for
Well,
like
we didn't talk-
$800.
We didn't. Oh, they were announced last week. They hadn't sold out yet last week.
Oh, well, they sold out in like an
a
hour,
week later,
in
yeah,
an
they're
hour.
sold out, and now people are flipping them for way more.
And we posted we posted a 2-minute clip that got a little bit of flack, and this is where I think we need to clear the air a little bit.
All right.
Because we said nothing but positive things about what this Kirkland iron is going to provide to the consumer. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think a lot of maybe things I said were misconstrued about direct-to-consumer brands. So now I want to kind of talk about what's the difference between us, club fitting snobs,
Right.
and direct-to-consumer brands.
The direct-to-consumer brand, you've got the thing I noticed. You generally have one option, and then with us, you have countless options.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the biggest thing, the easiest way to put it, is that direct-to-consumer brands, they're going from factory to their company or from their company's website to a single factory and shipping directly to you. There's very little advertisement. There's very little marketing into the club itself, and there's very little, I want to say, R&D process. But it's a way for the company to cut out a lot of costs that they don't have to put into their irons. Mm-hmm. So they do make it a great option into purchasing a well-performing club.
Yeah.
I mean, My Golf Spy has done tests with various different companies. I don't know if they done a Tacoma test.
Yeah, they actually spent a lot of time with Tacoma, and then Swag Golf every summer series they did, Tacoma was there with clubs too.
Yeah. That being said, is there a way for the customer to hit them before buying them?
Nope. It's a big gamble.
Most of the time, there's not.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's where I don't think direct to consumer companies are bad themselves. I just think that it's tough. I mean, for how often we get people that come in our store that want to buy something, they're like, "Well, how do I know it's right for me?" We're like, "That's exactly what a fitting will do."
Yeah.
There's not a possible way to do it with these type
Direct
of
to
clubs.
consumer. And so, I mean, from a club fitting standpoint, even if you don't change shaft, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say that head and shaft are static. Mm-hmm. How important is play length and lie angle?
Really important. I mean,
What's
the bottom of the golf club interact
everything.
with? The ground.
I mean, it determines strike location. You know, I kind of jokingly said that since JPX 923 was my number one club I fit into, I probably fit that person into 2 degrees upright and plus half an inch because seemed like that was what I had to change to get the strike location to be correct for a lot of my golfers I had fit for. Now, if you buy that golf club and it's coming at stock length and stock lie angle, and I know that most people I fit were 2 degrees upright and plus half an inch, not a single one of them can fit into either one of those two irons, just right off the bat, whether the shaft's perfect form or not.
Now, here's where I'm going to kind of bridge the gap a little bit.
Right.
They can come to us and get fit into those specs because, again, we're not pushing a sale directly out of a fitting. So you can need X100s at plus a half inch, 2 degrees upright. And a lot of the direct-to-consumer companies, you can go on their website and order the clubs at those specs. Now, the Kirkland clubs, you cannot.
You cannot.
I'll also say this. The majority of the clubs that you get from a direct-to-consumer are not a forged body. Yeah. Now, Sub 70 makes an awesome forged club. Mm-hmm. They also make it in raw, different finishes. But a lot of other clubs, you might bring it into a shop like us and tell us, hey, can you bend it? Hey, we might be able to bend it a degree, but it's going to have memory and it's going to go right back.
Anything cast is going to want to go back. But I would always say there's nothing wrong with buying direct to consumer. Nothing wrong with trying to save a little money here and there, right? However, don't just pull the trigger on a set of golf clubs on a website because you think it's a good deal. How many times we see people coming to the shop and they have golf clubs they bought because it was a good deal, and now they're contemplating changing shafts or having to do something to make those golf clubs fit them or perform the way they want them to.
So I made a comment last podcast about how the performance is not there and they break. And people are like, how do you know that? Like, because I constantly have to come in and do fittings for existing irons that a customer bought that didn't know anything about them. Mm-hmm. And he's wanting me to perform a miracle surgery on a set of clubs that is just not possible. Yeah. And then also when I tell somebody to reshaft clubs, it's around $100 a club. I would say on the cheap end, at least $70 a club.
Yeah. For
a fairly well-priced shaft.
Yeah.
So like reshafting has gotten a little bit of expensive. Mm-hmm. So when you only spent $110 on the club head direct to consumer, and then now you're reshafting it at another $100 on top of it,
the expense increases quite quickly. And before you know it, you're in there, it's just expensive.
And here's
or more
my thing.
Expensive
There's a reason why direct-to-consumer brands are still around. They work.
Yeah.
They work. I mean, iron technology has not really changed as far as when it comes to players' irons. Technology has been very minimal as far as what a CB does and what an MB does for how long? Wouldn't you agree, Kyle?
I mean, look at Daniel Berger.
Yeah.
One of the best iron strikers is using a set of irons from 2011.
Yeah. So, and this is always relative because ultimately at the end of the day, the only person that needs to like their golf clubs
is the person playing them.
Mm-hmm. Right? So it's not my job to tell you if your clubs are good or not. But don't come here and tell me Tacoma irons are better than TaylorMade and Callaway. On what basis can someone make that statement? I can't make the statement on the other way, but I know one company pays millions, but two companies pay millions and millions and millions of dollars into R&D, into quality control, into the materials they use. So yes, even though a new set of irons now are getting up there, there's a lot of stuff in the back end.
So there's a lot that goes into that.
Now the nice thing, what was our number one iron this year? Mizuno. How much are those a club?
$137.50.
So a 7-piece set is under $1,000.
Yeah.
So like, and that's the thing. It's not that we only have stuff like you have to have $1,000. I mean, you can get a great fully custom built with a custom shaft from Tour Edge Golf for $90 a club.
Yeah.
Like that's insane.
There are options out there.
There are options, and this is where I say if you want to go the direct to consumer route, I'm all for it. Just maybe come in and get fit.
Well, that's the point I was trying to make is that when I was saying never just go to a website and just buy something without really doing your research. I would strongly encourage every golfer to go and see a professional, whether it's a PGA professional that you work with on your golf swing or you've worked with at a local pro at a golf course, someone who can give you some information about golf clubs that you can trust. And to take that step further, I would strongly encourage you to get fit, if nothing else, for your play links and lie angles.
Yeah, static measurement.
Yeah, and the reason why that way you can at least start to get a golf club that's set up in a manner to where you can have some success with.
See, and that's where, like, with the direct-to-consumer brands, Tacoma does a better job in sub-70 than most others. Because they at least allow you to change these items before you order the clubs.
I'll say, you're good. The Hogan, the last iteration of the Hogan Golf Company did that as well, too.
See, and that's, like, where it gets interesting is, like, one of our, things that we read is about Hogan and how they were good. Hogan wasn't just direct to consumer though; they had 4 various outlets through big box stores where you could go in and get fit.
So it's not really direct to consumer.
And Sub 70 has fitting accounts across America where you can go and get fit. So even though they're semi-listed as direct to consumer, it's not a true direct to consumer because there's still options of you testing that club before you buy.
Well, it's like this. It's not. None of them are really technically direct
because
to consumer.
They're all made
because you're not buying that golf club from the factory that made it.
Correct.
I was going to say, well, the factory that makes these clubs are actually a factory that's been building clubs for almost 100 years, and they're coming out of a factory that actually knows what they're doing. So like that's why I'm not saying it's the quality. It's just the fact that a lot of these clubs are actually coming out of the same factory. So when Tacoma on their website say it's a
made in Finland or Sweden, whatever.
It's a specific type of design. It's like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What is it exactly? Oh, it's a Scandinavian mindset.
Well, using the Kirkland as not really to pick on it, but if you look at it, you can pretty clearly tell where that design came from.
P790. It's a P790.
And I would say it's the 2 generations ago, P790.
And it has like speed foam in it.
It's got the exact design of it, right?
So and this is where I'm going to say, like, to the performance wise, they are going to perform.
They're probably going to perform pretty good.
Equally as good as any other
But that being said, it comes at a much lower price point, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I guarantee you there's been some corners cut somewhere in that process.
Yeah,
whether it's material,
shaft.
Or I was going to say, and the shaft is what I was going to pick on next. And when you made the comment last week where you said these are going to break, I don't know if I think everyone thought the club heads are going to break, but what we're talking about is the shaft is probably going to break. Because what is an Elevate 115 shaft? I know we had an
it's
Elevate
a shaft
85.
that's never like rarely rare. Pretty much didn't exist.
I've never seen an Elevate 115. I've seen Elevate 85s, 95s, and a 105. I've never seen a 115.
It was probably made for.
So my guess on what the Elevate 115 is, this is total speculation, but I'm going to still go with it because I know
we're
how.
a speculation podcast.
Right. I know how True Temper, what they've been known to do is half of their shafts that they offer are.
We're a premier dealer of True Temper too. This is
factory seconds.
Yeah.
Essentially, they didn't pass quality control for the shaft they were making. So that's probably a relabeled S300 and R300 that didn't pass quality control to be an S300 or an R300 or Dynamic Gold S300 or Dynamic Gold R300.
So like the DG120 that came in too light.
Correct.
Yep. That's a good.
Okay,
good
so I bring this point.
The shaft's not a true.
And I bring this point because this is, I think, the easiest way to kind of compare spending $700 on a set of irons to maybe the going from this to maybe the hot metal. Right. Let's see if we could bridge the gap a little bit. What's the difference between an X100 and a Tour Issue X100, Kyle?
CPM and 2.5 grams of weight.
So that little bit of extra money that you spend into the Tour Issue X100 is because that shaft goes through a process to making sure every shaft is the exact same weight.
It's also tolerant.
And the exact same CPM. So the tolerance is it's as tight as it gets.
I say the
now
Tour
when you
Issue,
just get the regular X100s, which is a fantastic shaft, there might be a little bit of tolerance there, and that goes for any brand of clubs.
I was gonna say, we're picking on that one because it's the most common one. But the Tour Issue X100, it's a matched set.
It's a matched set,
and they have a variance of I think it's 2 or 3 grams.
Yeah,
and then and
that's from the
minimum
4-iron shaft to the wedge shaft, not shaft to shaft.
And then in a like regularly labeled Dynamic Gold X100, that is not a match set. They go into a barrel and they're just picked when they get put together for a set of shafts. And then there's a variance of what I think 8 to 12 grams in those shafts.
Well, I think that's what was kind of cool about all of us. Well, most of us going through the Dynamic Gold certification is how the S400 came about and how the S300 was made. The S400 was shafts, and then they had a couple thousand of these shafts laying around.
Best
and look what happened. Now it's the best wedge shaft ever.
Yeah.
So. It's and that's a thing. So ultimately, because we're this is our show and tell, not just a we're just ranting now.
As you can see,
direct to consumer brands. I'm going to say Birdie.
Yeah,
I think they serve a purpose in society, like
I would
in
say,
the golf society.
I would say, well, I guess Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, like I said last week, I'm not going to change my mind. It's going to be par.
Yeah,
because we can spend 15 minutes complimenting this stuff, and it's going to be again. There's a chef I watch. He goes, "Cook it the way you like it, not the way I'm cooking it." Right. It serves its purpose of getting someone into golf at a reasonable price point, so that when they're either A, ready to graduate, or B, to reshaft their set, they've got the budget saved up to do that. So it's a good bridger at a little bit of a sacrifice.
Yeah, and I would say on that sacrifice is I truly can't say a club that you're not allowed to test or demo or get fit for yourself is better than something that's actually fitted.
You have no way to know
you
that.
Have no way to know that, and no one can tell you that.
Yeah, for you.
Right.
I'll stick with mine, Birdie. I think it's good for the golfer that wants that option. Like I said, I think golf needs more economical options. I've got
I trust me. Part of me, like, I would love for the big OEMs to come down on price a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when they're paying professional golfers $100 million contracts, I hate to say it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I know.
We want that more than anybody.
Yeah, Birdie, but do your research.
Yeah.
These look familiar.
I like the way these turned out when we got finished.
This is a good looking. Turned out to be a really good looking build.
Yeah, so this was our wedge raffle that we did.
I was gonna say,
I'm such a big fan of like customizing ferrules, things like that. Since I rebuilt my irons this past weekend, I put some new ferrules on, changed up the vibe a little bit, and I think it's just it's a cool option. I think as far as these wedges go, I other than ones in our fitting bay, I've never hit a Bettinardi wedge, so I'm looking forward to maybe hearing from whoever won them how they perform.
You called him.
I'm blanking on his name. What's his name, Miles? David.
I thought it was David.
Yeah, I couldn't remember his name, but I called him. But I know David's stoked about him. So, but definitely looking forward to seeing how he thinks they feel out on the golf course.
They're flushed.
I mean, it's a flush.
We built them.
Like
we
that's
know
the
it.
thing. Also, when we build them, they're 100% to spec.
I say we built them to the specs he wanted, the length and lie angles. I was gonna say I liked how obviously we picked the stuff out, but like the color coordination between the ferrules and the grips, I thought turned out really good. The Acura TZ wedge shaft is a really cool shaft with the chrome finish on it that looks like steel, but it's composite, it's graphite.
I'm ready for these new wedges to come out next year because I have a set of those shafts that I'm waiting to put into something.
There. Yeah. So this was a cool overall package, and a set of wedges for $10 wasn't a bad deal. So flush.
$1,000 set of wedges for $10. So, heck yeah. That putter?
What's a group of turtles called?
Oh, it's a bale.
That's a bale. That's a bale of turtles right there.
Kyle, you have the floor about this thing.
Yeah, so this was a special project we did for Daryl, the owner of Loggerhead. I worked with a team at Lab. When I was at Wyndham Championship, I got to spend some time inside the ropes with Adam Scott. And on the bottom of his putter, Lab had put kangaroos. I was like, well, the kangaroos are cool, but I think the turtle would look really good. Mm-hmm. And fast forward, I did a fitting, got Daryl this putter, and I reached out to our inside sales rep, and I was like, hey, I know you guys normally don't do this, but is there any way possible that we can do something a little bit cool with the bottom? I said, and if you can do it for Adam Scott, you can do it for us little guys too. And they laughed at that.
Kyle's not afraid of asking that stuff.
No, so we went and kind of. What you can't see in the photos, they also have a new TPT shaft that's developed specifically for their putter. So this is kind of like the Taj Mahal of Lab putters in the sense of specs. But this was a cool project. Turned out good because it's not overly like the turtles are just on the bottom, so the top line's still clean.
Yeah.
So
I'd say it's a cool little detail you wouldn't always see, for sure.
Yep. I mean, it's a flush. I'm getting me a Lab putter eventually. So.
Perfect. Well, if you guys haven't already, like and subscribe. We'd like to thank you for taking time out of your day all year to listen to us talk, jabber, argue, get a little edgy with some people. And,
now hear me out.
Now hear me out.
Yeah.
So, but no, truly, we appreciate it, and thanks for you guys participating in our Instagram content, our YouTube content, and just giving us an opportunity to be part of your golf story. Yeah. So, subscribe, turn on those push bell notifications. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
See you next year. Merry Christmas.